If the therapy is proper for people 19 years of age or younger, what is it about the therapy that makes it that gets it excluded for people 19 years of age or older? I don't think that changes. I think that's quite discriminatory in the illegal sense. This is a community-supported legal education channel. Find out how you can support our mission at the links in the description below. I thought we would talk about a particle accelerator. It's a pretty cool-looking particle accelerator, don't you think? This is the Proton Therapy Synchrocyclotron at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, United States. This is a device that is used, like a particle accelerator, to fire protons into the body, into the cancerous tumor that might exist in the prostate of a patient. It is part of Proton Beam Radiation Therapy, and we're about to read a little bit more about it from the legal end of it. But basically, it is an alternative therapy to, I forget what the other one is, to general radiation therapy to treat prostate cancer. And this is a serious matter, so I want you to take this seriously. And I also want to point out that Judge Robert N. Scola Jr. is also taking it very, very, very seriously. This is the case of Richard Cole on behalf of himself and all others similarly situated, so a class action or collective action, versus UnitedHealth Insurance Company. And this is the order of the judge recusing himself from the case. The undersigned judge to whom this cause was assigned recuses himself and refers this cause to the clerk of court for reassignment. In early 2017, the court was diagnosed with prostate cancer. In determining the best course of treatment, the court consulted with top medical experts throughout the country. All the experts opined that if I opted for radiation treatment, proton radiation was by far the wiser course of action. Although the court opted for surgery rather than radiation, those opinions still resonate. Further, a very close friend of the court was diagnosed with cancer in 2015. He opted to have proton radiation treatment at MD Anderson in Houston. His healthcare provider, UnitedHealth, refused to pay for the treatment. Fortunately, he had the resources to pay $150,000 for the treatment, and only upon threat of litigation did UnitedHealth agree to reimburse him. It is undisputed among legitimate medical experts that proton radiation therapy is not experimental and causes much less collateral damage than traditional radiation. To deny a patient this treatment, if it is available, is immoral and barbaric. The court's opinions in this matter prevent it from deciding this case fairly and impartially. Done and ordered this 29th day of April 2019. So what's going on here is something quite remarkable. You may not know about this, but judges, believe it or not, have various duties to conduct themselves in an impartial and unbiased way. Here is the Model Code of Judicial Conduct from the American Bar Association website. Canon 1, which is not just this line, but actually a whole group of rules. A judge shall uphold and promote the independence, integrity, and impartiality of the judiciary and shall avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety. Canon 2, a judge shall perform the duties of judicial office impartially, competently, and diligently. If we click on Canon 2 and we click on impartiality, a judge shall uphold the office and apply the law and shall perform all duties of the judicial office fairly and impartially. And then again, over here to Rule 2.3, a judge shall perform the duties of the judicial office without bias or prejudice or conduct by words or by conduct, manifest bias or prejudice or engage in harassment, etc. So the judge is observing his rules there. There's also a law, 28 U.S.C. 455, disqualification of a judge. Any judge, justice, or magistrate shall disqualify himself where his impartiality might reasonably be questioned. I think there's even another one here. Oh, we're back. That's over to copyright. So that's what's going on here with Judge Robert Scola. And he's actually the third judge. There was one before him and there is one after him in the same case. So let's take a look quickly at that case. This is a 29-page document, but we don't need to go over the entire complaint. This is in the Southern District of Florida. It's a class action complaint. It's a class action on behalf of beneficiaries of ERISA plans. ERISA is a type of government regulated retirement plan, and one of the points of the ERISA plan is that the administrators must complete or must use a fiduciary level of responsibility to you. They have a fiduciary duty to you, which means they must act in your best interests. Weren't we just talking about that? So this is on behalf of beneficiaries of ERISA plans administered by UnitedHealth, who were denied proton beam radiation therapy because UHC has a uniform policy denying experimental or investigational treatments for prostate cancer. Instead of acting solely in the interests of the participants and beneficiaries of its insurance plans, UHC denied coverage for proton beam radiation therapy to treat prostate cancer because, on average, it is significantly more expensive than the traditional intensity modulated radiotherapy, or IMRT. Plaintiff was diagnosed with prostate cancer in April of 2018. In May of 2018, plaintiff consulted with physicians at Miami's Cancer Institute and at Baptist Health Center, or I guess that is the Cancer Institute at Baptist Health Center, Florida. Baptist Health South Florida. Don't know where I'm getting center from. The physicians at MCI recommended that PBRT be used because, among other things, it has a likelihood of achieving a better outcome. PBRT is recognized for decades by the medical community as an established medically appropriate treatment for cancer, including prostate cancer. May 30th, 2018, UHC denied plaintiff's request for pre-authorization of PBRT on the grounds that it fell under an exclusion for experimental or investigative or unproven services. Their medical policy is uniform, except that there is an exception for people who are 19 years of age or younger. Notwithstanding UHC's denial of coverage, plaintiff proceeded to have PBRT with positive results. Plaintiff paid for the treatment out of pocket and sought repayment from UHC. They denied coverage. UHC responded by upholding the denial of coverage based solely on their policy and without considering the substantial materials submitted by plaintiff and his providers supporting coverage for PBRT. There is a silver lining here. On January 1st, 2019, this year, UHC changed its policy. The new policy acknowledges that PBRT is not experimental and that both PBRT and IMRT are proven and considered clinically equivalent for treating prostate cancer. Under ERISA, plaintiff and class members are entitled to equitable and declaratory relief in joining the application of any UHC PBRT policy that predates the January 1st policy change, reversing UHC's denials of coverage that were based on the previous policy and awarding all other relief the court finds appropriate. So that is something, huh? So they go on to explain that the UHC acts as a fiduciary, that proton beam radiation therapy is a procedure that uses protons to deliver a curative radiation dose to a tumor while reducing doses to healthy tissues and organs. So it's using a beam rather than instead of a conical beam, it's a much more like laser-shaped beam or something. I'm not exactly sure how it works. You can read about it on the wiki or on various other websites, I'm sure. The protons deposit their energy over a very small area called the Bragg peak. The Bragg peak can be used to target high doses of proton beams to a tumor while doing less damage to the surrounding tissue. There is overwhelming evidence that it is safe and accepted for over 30 years. It has been approved by the FDA since 1988. Yeah, that's 30 years. As evidence of the arbitrary and capricious nature of UHC's denial, UHC policy maintains that PBRT is experimental or investigative for persons 19 years of age or over, while simultaneously finding it to be non-experimental and non-investigative for persons 19 years of age or younger. I think that tells it all right there. If the therapy is proper for people 19 years of age or younger, what is it about the therapy that makes it that gets it excluded for people 19 years of age or older? I don't think that changes. I think that's quite discriminatory in the illegal sense. There are no medical studies that support a conclusion that PBRT would be safe, proven effective treatment for one age group, but not the other. So what do we think of that? First off, as a man who could be susceptible to prostate cancer at some point in his life, I'd like to know that my insurance company is going to pay for it. And now that I know that UnitedHealthcare does not act in the best interests of its male patients, I'll be questioning them before I would ever take insurance with them. I would want some kind of reassurance in writing that prostate cancer would be covered. And that's just disgusting that they would play with people's lives like that. These insurance companies have the money to save people's lives, and they choose not to. It's disgusting.
Prostate cancer is extremely common. The last I read, I think it was about 25% of males that live sort of 50 and older are going to get it. So it's something, I mean, that's the reason why they do such frequent checks in middle-aged and older men. It's because it's such a common cancer, and it's important to catch it early and to treat it aggressively.
So just to kind of finish up here, as an ERISA fiduciary, UHC was required to discharge its duties consistent with the law that requires it to do so solely in the interest of its participants and beneficiary for the exclusive purpose of providing benefits to participants and their beneficiaries and paying reasonable expenses of administrating the plan. It must do so with care, skill, prudence, and diligence, and in accordance with the terms of the plans it administers. It violated all of these requirements. It violated these duties when it prepared and promulgated the PBRT policy because UHC relied upon outdated evidence, ignored current evidence indicating that PBRT was not experimental, and unreasonably concluded that it was experimental, investigational, or unproven. UHC then compounded that breach by relying upon the policy to deny insurance claims submitted by plaintiff and class members in contravention of the terms of their UHC plans. Upon information and belief, the cost to administer PBRT to plaintiff was the same as the cost to administer traditional IMRT radiotherapy. So it wasn't even going to be an expensive difference. They just denied it because. And I don't think that's right for them to be able to make decisions in contravention of your doctor, especially when these plaintiffs have obviously consulted with many doctors and gotten many opinions that seem to correlate. And then this one entity is like, no, all those doctors are wrong. And the person saying it is the insurance company paying for it. Are you kidding me? That is so obvious what they're doing. So in their prayer for relief here, the important things they're asking for are an order ordering UHC to reprocess plaintiffs and other class members' PBRT claims under the new policy, basically paying for the treatment wherever it is applicable there, and ordering UHC to create a common fund out of which it will make payments available to the unpaid class members and plaintiff for their reimbursement. So that sounds very plausible to me. Of course, UHC has responded and said that they didn't think they did anything wrong and that they will ultimately be vindicated in the case. But hey, this is a one-sided complaint. We have not heard UHC's side of it. I don't have the imagination to conjure up what set of facts would exonerate UHC in this case, but okay, they don't think they're liable. What do you think of that? Let us know in the comments below. Do you think that insurance companies are all as scummy as that sounds like they are? I just personally can't wait till I get some sort of sickness or terminal illness or something that I need to have some kind of major treatment for so that I get to deal with all these shitty companies too. Insurance is, by its very nature, by its very definition, socialistic. It socializes the costs of the underlying service. So in this case, medical insurance or car insurance, the insurance company is responsible for maintaining how much it costs to cover everybody's incidents. And you don't know that ahead of time, so you have to use historical data and make guesses. And that's why they try not to, grant claims that are frivolous. Ilse Hupp. You can do it. You're a good girl. Good girl. Yes, you are. You want another one? Stay up here for a second. You want another one? Good girl.
One of the things that I found interesting going back to the judge's refusal is when I was looking up the standards, that obviously if a judge feels like he or she can't be impartial, they should accuse themselves. But also if other people would reasonably suspect that the person couldn't be impartial, then the judge has a duty to recuse themselves. And so obviously this judge said, I personally know myself, and I couldn't be impartial because I've been too personally impacted by this very situation. But if he had not recused himself, that could possibly be an issue for appeal, saying, well, the judge ruled against me because of his own personal experience, not because of sound legal reasoning. And that could cause the problems in the case. So even if the judge sort of wanted to rule for the class action plaintiff, it's much better for him to recuse himself, let somebody else come and make sure that the case wins on the merits and doesn't even have the illusion that there's something unfair going on.
Right. So the judge is actually helping the case. Like if imagine for a moment that the judge really is biased and would want to help the case in an illegal way. This is actually the legal way to help the case. Make sure that it doesn't have an unfair trial. The judge is recusing himself to make sure that it gets a fair trial. That's exactly what we want.
UHC, your practice was so shady that judges don't even want to sit because they hate you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. The judges have been personally affected by this behavior. And how small do you think the world feels to UnitedHealthcare right now that they have this practice, and then when it gets to court, they find that the judges have also had a negative experience with UnitedHealthcare? That's bad for UnitedHealthcare. That the company is really crappy, shady, however you want to put it, when 3 judges are already familiar with and have been touched by their shady practices when they get to the lawsuit over the thing. Not just the jury, not just the community, the actual judges have been touched by the problem. That's stupid move, UHC. I'm happy to note that they've changed the policy, and now PBRT will be available to more men who need it. And that is our show, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me, Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, for this Cinco de Mayo episode of Lawful Masses. This is a community-supported legal education channel. Thank you very much for your support on patreon.com/ljfrench and sponsus.org/u/lawfulmasses, as well as Twitch subscribers and YouTube join members, which will be turned on shortly here. Thank you very much to our May $50 plus supporters: John Steele, Gavin Barnard, Eevi, Andy, Kyle Mudrak, Verement, Tayne, Michael Pearce, Terry Crisp, Jan Negrey, Spirit Bear, Daniel Perez, Richard Fournier, Snorre Wisotzky, allquixotic, and Aspernari. Thank you very much for your support at the $50 level, and thank you to the $5 plus supporters who are scrolling on the LED panel behind me and will also be in the crawl and the description of the videos that drop. Once again, thank you for joining me. In the studio here, we've had Ms. Kaylee and Brandon and Tactical. Appreciate you all. And of course, we have a Nico here someplace, if I can get him back. But otherwise, you guys have a great week. It's spring. I hope it's warm for all of you Northern Hemisphere persons. Come on, hup, boy, and we'll take out the stream. Hup, come on, go boy, go boy. All right, everyone. Love you all. I am Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, and I will see you this week in the videos that drop. Bye.